This one is a collaboration with a Google Street View photo, which is the more conventional way you run into immersive photography or real estate websites, right? But again, what's interesting to me about immersive photography and writing poems in there is that there's this sense that it really feels like you can be there because it's immersive, which is why real estate agents use it, right, to sell you an apartment. But of course it's not, it's a screen. There's no there, right? And again, it can only capture an image in a moment of time. This particular piece, I won't read the text, you can read the text yourself, but this is a site in Manshan, which I go past every day. I live in Saigon and I teach at CUHK. So I had gone there without knowing what it used to be. I did not know it was the largest detention center for Vietnamese asylum seekers in the late 80s and 90s. There's a little beach there, there's a village still, and there's like a million luxury housing estates, and also a golf range and like a barbecue place. You don't have to be rich to go there now, but you do have to be very rich to live there. So if you go to the poem, maybe go to the poem and refresh it. Yeah, thank you. I'm also interested in photography as a means of time travel, and specifically Google Street View as a means of time travel, because I don't know if you guys do this, but I have spent many hours canvassing different neighborhoods when you can go all the way back to 2009 in Hong Kong, maybe further in some places. You can see where the buildings weren't, right? What used to be there. This is the last standing building, or was in 2009, the last standing barracks house from Whitehead Detention Center. It was still there. And in this poem, I'm interested also in thinking about the photograph as a text. Like, it seemed poorly. Google Photos was not very good back then. Like, it's funky. The photo is seen poorly, as is the pavement. These trees are volunteers instead of planted. You know, nothing there was meant. It was kind of like a wilderness in a way. Nothing here was meant to last and hasn't. Would you like to see? Touch me, then me, then me. And if you're in VR with goggles, there's a little black circle at the center of the screen, which can be quite hard to find in the photograph. I think Donna's finding it. It will always be at the very center of your screen, wherever you are. It's tricky. Yeah, maybe it's white for us. If you get touch me right in the middle of the screen, that should work. But then, of course, it's the internet, so it might not. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So this is from 2015, which is the next photograph that Google Maps has. And this is, you know, the luxury housing estates under construction. And if you spin a little bit to one side or the other, you can just see, you know, it's obviously radically different. Like the little building was, you know, right there in that parking lot. And then if you go to Ben Me, this is 2017, I believe. More building. And you don't need to span all the way behind, it just looks like that, but finished. And then all the way to, I believe 2020 is the most recent one, which is the last one on there, then me. So what's interesting to me about this is you can see what has become the only anchor so that you know where things are is the text. Like, I line the pictures up so that the text is always in the same place. So that if you go to the left, yeah, over there, right there is like where that little building was. Right to the left of these trees are volunteer and not planted. And that's the dormitory that's going to be for City U, which is probably almost done by now. So again, the sense of time travel and the feeling of really being there, but you can't go there now, it looks different, right? Even if you stand there, it's quite different. This makes me think actually of one thing I meant to say about Jenny's poems, if we were going to talk about both of them. 2046, you know, it ends with a bullet train into the future and everything else is just a reflection. Photography is a means of stopping time. I guess poetry kind of is in a way too, but it just feels very impossible to me, even writing this kind of work really brings that out. We're hurtling forward.
Well, that's really, really, really creative and you know, something that we've never seen before, I assume. Collier, you're talking about kind of how we use poetry as a kind of you know, historical archiving and documentation, and we do see a lot in the poems that we've chosen for today. So let's just move on to Tim Tim and see what response she might have.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, all good.
Awesome. I don't know, I feel like if I speak too much, I would destroy the work themselves, because what I love about the works are the fact that you get to experience the space at the same time as the words, and the words are so minimal in a poem compared to the dense texts that give you the historical background. And for me, I'm really grateful because I was born in Hong Kong in 1993 to a migrant family from Fujian. So I didn't really learn a lot about Hong Kong's history at home or at school, because usually my teachers would just tell me that, oh, contemporary history is outsy, it's not really part of the syllabus, and because it won't be tested in exams, so we don't have to learn about that. So having poetry as an entrance point to all these histories that we should know, it's really great. Because I do think that a lot of us think that poetry is something that we should tackle. But for me, I think in poetry, sometimes it gives you a really direct experience of what is no longer here or what is still here, but the look of it is completely changed. All we need to do is to pay attention. And going back to Collier's poems, I really enjoy looking at the first one, because I always love the fact that you see Collier's hair is at the bottom when you scroll up and down. And when I first saw it, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a wig or a really cute black dog on the floor. And then I also really like how next to the hair, you get to see, I assume now, that's Collier's hand. And the hand itself is a bit distorted because technology. And the fact that in that image of the hand, which is like a nude blur, you don't see the recording machine almost. And I was overthinking maybe, but I was thinking of how the machine that records everything cannot record itself. And I thought that's a pretty cool metaphor for how we try to approach history. Sometimes the vehicle is present, sometimes it's not. And it's really fun to unpack all that. And I also really enjoy getting lost in Collier's VR poems as well. Because when I walk into the space of a poem, no one is there to tell me where I should look. And you don't even see the poem in full. So all you can do is to make sense of what the lines mean to you in your own ways. And you get to tell if you're a grammar Nazi or not, because some of us like to form sentences grammatically, some of us don't. So yeah, destabilizing the reading process it's quite an interesting way for us to look at history as well. And in the second poem, The Whitehead, I was really struck by how the past is described as bright, because usually I have a really normie mind. When I associate the past with a certain color, I would usually associate with something that's dusty, something that's with Instagram filter or Wong Kar-wai's filter. But here, the past is bright, like the sun is completely like white or whatever color that you associate brightness with. So I thought that's a very subtle way of subverting how we associate adjectives with some nouns. And I also really, really love the lines, would you like to see, touch me, then me, then me. I don't know who the me is. Is the me the poem, the button, or the changing landscape? And for something that is so unknown, unsure, to beg somebody to touch them is almost like, hey, come to know me, I'm here for you. And the fact that we kind of need to use our fingertips to activate the changing landscapes, for me, that's really powerful, because I don't know, before poetry, I never remember that I actually had a body and home. And to be reminded of those things, and to be reminded of the fact that home could mean so many different things across time and space, and to different people, the home in our mind may not be the same as the person who's sitting next to you. And I thought that's just so fun. It really opens up a lot of stories for me. Yeah. I'm done. Sorry, I rambled on.
No, your response is a poem on its own.